All right. Shalom, shalom, mishpacha. Good to see you here, sisters. Actually, you're all sisters. Kelly, Jermaine, Wendy, and Sherry. Shalom, shalom. So we're going to be getting into the Hebrew book of Luke today. And one second here. Let me share my screen. And I did share the link in the chat here, and I pinned it. But this book here, the book of Luke, we're actually going to see it gives us the Hebrew and the English translation. So very interesting stuff, which we will definitely get into. But we're also going to see that, well, the first four verses as compared to the Greek, they aren't in here. And we'll definitely go over that. So let me say a quick prayer and we'll get right into it. I'm pretty excited. Father, Abba, Yahuah, we come to you in prayer to ask for your guidance and your blessings as we read and study through your word. Help us to be able to discern your truth from even our own thoughts. I wanted to say a prayer for all of those who are struggling through trials, tribulations, sicknesses, stresses, whatever it may be. Please help us all. We do need your strength to be able to endure to the end. And I pray to you in the name of Yahusha HaMashiach. Let it be so. All right, so right off the bat, like I was mentioning, we're seeing that, well, the first four verses here are missing. And there's a little footnote that kind of explains as to why. And I'll go ahead and read it here. Actually, let me like zoom this in. How do I do that? Okay, there we go. Okay. So right off the bat, we'll see, hey, shalom, brother Micah, sorry. Right off the bat, we're going to see, well, these few verses are missing here. And the footnote here for B, it explains the Hebrew Gospel of Luke does not include the first four verses. The Greek introduction. The introductory section was evidently added to the Greek translation only, as it is addressed to Theophilus, a Greek name, and is written in the typical Greek style. So we see that, well, these first four verses, or the introduction, is not found in the Hebrew translations, only in the Greek. So I do have it up here just so we can read them and see what it says and compare. So we'll read the first four verses here. And Luke chapter 1, since many have indeed taken in hand to put in order an account of the matters completely confirmed among us, as those who from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the world delivered them to us. It seemed good to me as well, having followed up all these matters exactly from the beginning, to write to you an orderly account, most excellent Theophilus. And yeah, there he is. That you might know the certainty of the words which you were taught. And then it continues, verse 5 here, which that's actually where it begins. And in the days of Herod, king of Yahudah, there was a priest whose name was Zechariah, from the genealogy of Abijah, and his wife was of the children of Aharon, and her name was Elisheva. And both of them were righteous before El, standing in the commandments and in the righteousness of Yahuah, without any bad report. And again, we know these are Yochanan the Immerser's parents. We see his mother was of Aharon, and so is his father, from the genealogy of Abiyah, a son of Zadok. So it goes on to, well, these are the footnotes here, sorry. And then we see the Hebrew here, or the modern Hebrew that it's translated from. But so verse 7, but they had no son or daughter, for she was barren, and both of them were very old. And it happened while Zechariah the priest was doing service before Yahuah on an arranged turn, on his Shabbat, according to the custom of the priests, it came out by lot that he should give incense. And when he entered the sanctuary of Yahuah, all the people were outside praying at the time that he had to give the incense. But the messenger of Yahuah, standing at the right-hand side of the altar of incense, appeared to him. So every time we see Yahuah here, they have it as, of course, Yahweh, but we know it's Yahuah. That's where we see the Yod-He Vav-He. And this is really interesting here because it says he was doing service before Yahuah on an arranged turn, you know, talking about the priestly courses on his Shabbat, on Yahuwah's Shabbat. I just thought that kind of stood out a bit, you know. And according to the custom of the priests, also showing, well, that priestly order. Just really fascinating in the Hebrew. It just kind of sticks out more. Now when Zechariah saw him, he was terrified, and fear came over him. But the messenger said to him, "Do not fear, Zechariah, for your prayer is heard, and your wife Elisheba will bear a son for you, and you must call his name Yochanan. And you will have joy and gladness, and many will rejoice when he will be born. For he will be great before El, and he will not drink wine or strong drink. Before he goes out of his mother's womb, he will be perfected by the Ruach HaKodesh." And yet, we see also Yohanan, he was a Nazirite. He took the Nazirite vow from when he was born. And then, of course, the footnotes. And here, kind of how we see the word Sabbath could also mean week. This is why there's some confusion in translations where, you know, Miriam goes to the tomb and things like that. But it's actually slightly different spelling, and we see that in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's Sabbat rather than Shabbat. So there's an extra letter in there. So Sabbat would mean week, whereas Shabbat, of course, is the weekly Shabbat. And then just a lot of footnotes explaining the Hebrew and things like that. It's really cool. I highly recommend going through this and studying it, reading it on your own as well. All right, verse 17. And he will instruct before him, that is before Yahuah, in the Ruach, and in the power of Eliyahu, so that he may turn back the heart of the fathers to the sons, and make them walk in wisdom of the righteous ones, and prepare for Yahuah a perfect people. Yep, just like it is prophesied of him. And this is the first confirmation that we get that, well, he will walk in that Ruach and in the power of Eliyahu. the very Eliyahu that would be sent before Mashiach. And then verse 18, then Zechariah said to the messenger, how could this happen? For I am old, and my wife, her days are hasty. So the messenger answered and said to him, I am he who stands before El, and I was sent to make these things known to you, because you did not believe my words, which will be fulfilled in their time. You will be mute and will not be able to speak until that day when these things will come to completion. And so we see, it was the Malachim, the angel here, the messenger, that, he told him he would be mute until it happens because he did not believe him. Now the people were there waiting for Zechariah, and they wondered why he kept tarrying in the sanctuary. And when he came out of the sanctuary, he was not able to speak with them. Then they realized that he had seen a vision, and he showed them with signs, but he remained mute. Let's see, footnote M. I just kind of want to see. MSS, B, and C 4. Don't know what that means. I was just trying to see why it was in parentheses here. And then continuing down. So verse 23. So when he had completed the days of his service, he went to his house. And after a few days, Elisheba his wife conceived. But she hid herself for 5 months, saying, El did this to me. And in those days he looked on me, so that he might take away my reproach among the women. And within 6 months, El sent the messenger Gabriel to a city of Gilead, of which the name is Notzrat, to a virgin betrothed to a man whose name was Joseph, and he was of the house of David. And yet, I do go over a lot of this in my Yahusha is from Aharon and David write-up. It's actually really fascinating, and Luke kind of goes into this as well. Gives a lot of detail about it. But let me continue. Verse 28. So when the messenger came in towards the virgin, he said to her, May Yahuah save you, full of favor. Yahuah be with you. And Baruch are you among the rest of the women. Then that virgin, when she heard the words of the messenger, was terrified and thought, that Shalom, how could it be? Very interesting. Lots of footnotes. So, but the messenger said to her, Do not fear, Miriam, for you have found grace in the eyes of Yahuah. You must know that you will conceive in your womb, and you will bear a son, whose name you must call Yahusha. He will be great, and he will be called the son of El Elyon. And our Adon, Yahuah, will give him the throne of Yahuah, his father. And he will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and his kingdom will have no end. Then Miriam said to the messenger, How is this able to happen, while I do not know a man? So the messenger answered and said, Ruach HaKodesh will come over you, and the power of Elyon will abide over you. And what will he who will be born of you be? He will be Kodash, and he will be called son, Ben. And behold, Elisheva, your relative, has conceived a son in her old age. And this is the 6th month for her who is called barren. So, we see Elisheva, who was a daughter of Aharon, as we read above, is Miriam's relative, showing us Miriam is also of Aharon. So it can be easy to kind of glance over that. But we see Miriam, the mother of Yahusha, was of Aharon. And going down, and we also remember Yohanan and Yahusha were born 6 months apart. Really fascinating. All right. So let me continue here. So verse 37, for there is nothing at all which will be impossible before Yahuah. Then Miriam said, behold, here is the maidservant of Yahuah. Let it be done to me according to your words. So Miriam stood up from there in those days and went hastily into the mountains to a city of Yehuda. Then she entered the house of Zechariah, and she gave Shalom to Elisheba. And immediately, when Elisheba heard the Shalom of Miriam, the child of Elisheba rejoiced in her womb. And Elisheba was filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. And she cried out with a great voice and said, blessed are you among the women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb. And how did this happen, that the mother of my Adon came to me? You must know that when my ears heard your Shalom, the child rejoiced with great gladness in my womb. And blessed are you that believe. So really awesome. I believe, so when I look into it more, and it's just some of my thoughts, Sister Wendy asked, do you see this chapter as literal 6 month calculating the birth of Yahusha on Shavuot? I know there's a lot of people that believe that. I think Yohanan was born on Shavuot, around there, and then 6 months later, Yahusha was born on the divider day of the year. That's what I think, because he is that head of days. He's the literal head of days. That's just my thoughts. And I think that's not taken into account a lot because, well, not a lot of people know the divider day. They don't understand it. So I think, I believe that's when he was, he came out of the womb right then, starting off that year as the head of days. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so if there's 6 months difference, then when would Yochanan would have been born? Is there a specific date, do you think? He was 6 months earlier, I think.
Yeah. So I believe he was born on or around Shavuot, perhaps.
Okay.
And then that 6 months later.
It'd be good to look on the calendar and just to map it out. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it would be great if it gave specific dates, then we would know. But yeah, we will definitely have to map that out on the calendar. Let's see. Actually, let me take a look right now. Let's see. We got month 6. Or perhaps it was on the first fruits of new oil as well. Because that's at month 6. Yeah. Day 22 of month 6.
Because he was born for such a purpose, He did good things, so I'd assume that his birth was memorial of some type.
Yeah, and that new oil right there, it also leads into the wood offering that week as well. So I am sure he probably was born possibly around that time.
There could be something in that.
Yeah. Honestly, we can't say for sure because scripture doesn't give us a date, unfortunately. But that's just my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Shavuot would be a bit too early for it to be 6 months. And that's why I was just looking. But it would be, so month 6, 22nd day, first fruits of new oil. Not some interesting stuff to just think about. Let's see. So we see, well, Miriam went to go visit Elisheva, and Yohanan in Elisheva's womb, rejoiced because, well, Yahusha was in Miriam's womb. And they were definitely close relatives of the line of Aharon. Something that's easily overlooked. Yeah. So it's still continuing down here, apparently. So let me just read this last line again. So you must know that when my ears heard your shalom, the child rejoiced with great gladness in my womb. And blessed are you that you believed, for those things which were said to you from Yahuah will be fulfilled in you. The angel, did it say it went into her in month 6? Hold on, let me see that. Let's see. What was it? Verse 26? Or it just says within 6 months. Hid herself for 5 months. And then, so it doesn't say that it was month 6, but it was within 6 months. Your version says, do you have the Greek or the Hebrew? Yeah, there would have been 6 months apart. Yahusha and Yohanan. Oh, it's in your language. That's what it says. Interesting. Let's see. What does it say here in Yah's scriptures? And in the 6 months, the messenger Gabriel was sent by Elohim to Nazareth. So, and in the 6 months, interesting. I just know that this is why I know they're 6 months apart. We'll have to dig into that more. Yeah. definitely can look into the Hebrew because, well, we got it right above. So, yeah, I will definitely look more into that as well. It's a good catch there. All right, so verse 46 here. Then Miriam said, my neshama praises and exalts El, and my Ruach rejoices in El, who is my Shalom. For he regarded the lowness of his maidservant, and therefore all the people will say that I am blessed. For he who is almighty, the Kodesh, is his name. He did great things to me. His steadfast love is from generation to generation for those who fear him. For he does mighty things with his arm, and he despises the proud ones and the thoughts of his heart. So he man, I can't say that word. So he humiliates the strong and high ones from their lion-like arrogance, and exalts the humbled ones. Pretty fascinating, especially the verbiage. And 53. The hungry ones he fills with all good things, but he leaves the rich ones empty. He redeems Israel his son, remembering his steadfast love, as he promised to our fathers, to Abraham, and to his seed forever. So Miriam stayed with Elisheba about 3 months. And after she returned to her house at the sanctuary, Elisheba had to give birth. Then she gave birth, and she had a son. When the neighbors and her relatives heard of her, who was exalted by the steadfast love shown to her, they rejoiced with her. They heard it and gathered together on the 8th day in order that they could circumcise the son. And they called him the name of his father, Zechariah. But his mother answered and said, it will not be so. Yep. And we have the mention of the 8th day as well for the circumcision, but just more shows the importance of the great 8th day. And also his mother said, no, we are not going to name him Zechariah because the messenger didn't tell her to name him that. Told her to name him Yohanan. But his name must be Yohanan. Then they said to her, it is not fitting in your family that you should have such a name. So they made a sign to his father, how he wanted his name to be. Then Zechariah asked a tablet on which he wrote, Yohanan is his name. And all who were there were very amazed about this. And immediately the mouth of the father was opened, and his tongue spoke, and he blessed Yahuah. So there came fear on all their neighbors, and these things were published throughout all the mountains of Yehudah. And everyone who heard it took it to heart and said, what will this child be? For the hand of Yahuah was upon him. Now Zechariah his father was full of the Ruach HaKodesh, and he prophesied and said, blessed be Adon, the Elohim of Israel, for he has visited and worked redemption for his people, and he directed us and hastily gave Shalom to the house of David his son, as he proclaimed by the mouth of his Kodesh ones, the prophets, who were from the beginning of the world, Shalom to us from our haters and from the hand of all those who are angry with us, to perform steadfast love to our fathers and to remember the Kodeshness of his covenant, that the oath which he swore to Abraham our father may be given to us, so that he may deliver us from our enemies, and we may serve him without fear, in Kodesh and purity before him, all of our days. And you, child, will be called a prophet of the exceedingly exalted, for you will go before Ha'adon, so that you may prepare the ways, that they may become straightened. So Yohanan is going to be the one prophesied about preparing that way in the wilderness. The wilderness is literally the cities of Bethabara, Qumran, where the sons of Zadok were, the Dead Sea Scrolls. We see Yohanan, he was born of a lineage of Abijah, who was the son of Zadok. So it all connects back to Zadok and the Dead Sea Scrolls. And we got the end of chapter 1 here, and going into chapter 2. And depending on how long chapter 2 is, I didn't expect chapter 1 to take so long, but it's all good. Oh, we're only at 36 minutes anyway, so no worries. So let me complete the sentence here. So, in the ways of Shalom and in the way of El, and to give complete healing to his people for the forgiveness of their iniquities, because of his steadfast love, by which he who is on high is visiting us. And he has illuminated those who dwell in gloominess and in the shadow of death, so that our feet may be blessed in the way of Shalom. And the child grew up and became strong in Ruach HaKodesh, and he stayed in the wilderness until the time that he showed himself to Israel. So look, he stayed in the wilderness of Qumran because he became a leader in Qumran. And if you'd like to learn more about that, actually, it's in my main article. I walk through the New Testament connection, and I walk through how Yohanan literally immersed Yahusha right there where Qumran is located, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. It's pretty amazing. But anyways, let me continue to chapter 2 here. But let me grab a sip of water first. All right. So Luke chapter 2. Moreover, there was made in those days such a decree by Caesar August, that the whole world must be taxed. And this taxing was done first, while the Adon was king of Syria. So they all went, each one to his city, so that they could obey the Adon's command. And Joseph went up from Nazareth, Galilee, to Yehuda, the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, for he was of the house and of the people of David, so that he could obey the command with Miriam, his betrothed, even his wife, who was pregnant. And while they were there, the days of Miriam were fulfilled to give birth. And there she brought forth his firstborn son. Then he wrapped him in garments he laid him down in the animal's trough, for there was no other place where she could lay him down under that roofing, which came out from the wall, which is called Porsi. So we see they were going here to Yehuda because Joseph was of David. And an interesting thing, we see Miriam, his betrothed, even his wife. So this kind of goes into an interesting study where once you betrothed someone, they are technically your husband or wife, even though it hasn't been consummated yet. But it shows that they are already, basically husband and wife. So if you are betrothed to someone, even before you're consummated, all that stuff, if you go with somebody else at that time, that would be committing adultery. So it's just very interesting how it words it here in Hebrew. So even betrothal is, considered a marriage there. That's kind of what I wanted to point out. All right, so verse 8. Now there were shepherds who were young men in that generation, and they were keeping watch over their livestock in the night hours. And behold, a messenger of Yahuah stood near them. And the light of Yahuah surrounded them round about, and they had great fear. But the messenger said to them, Do not fear. Behold, I am making known to you great joy, which will be for the whole nation. That today there has been born to us in the city of David the Savior of the world, who is Mashiach and Adon. And this will be the sign for you. You will find the child wrapped in a garment and laid down in a trough. And immediately there was with the messenger a great heavenly army, and they praised Yahuah with thanksgiving, and said, Exaltation be to El Elyon, and on earth Shalom to men, because of goodwill. So when the messengers departed from them, going up and down to the heavens, the shepherds spoke among themselves, saying, Let us go over to Bethlehem, and see this thing which El is doing, and has shown to us. So they went hastily and found Miriam and Joseph and the child, laid down in the animal's trough. And behold, they recognized that they had spoken to them of that child. And all those who heard this were astonished, because of those things which were said to them by the shepherds. And Miriam took all these things to heart. So the people returned, thanking and praising Yahuah, for all things which they heard and saw were just like it had been said to them in advance. So after 8 days were fulfilled, the child was circumcised, and his name was called Yahusha. For that is the name which he was called by the messenger, before the child was in the womb of his mother. And when the days of purification of Miriam were fulfilled, according to the law of Moshe, they brought the child to Jerusalem, so that they could offer to Yahuah, according to that which is written in the law of Yahuah, that every male which opens a womb will be kodesh to Yahuah, and that they could present 1 pair of turtle doves or 2 young doves. So really fascinating here as well, because every male which opens a womb is kodesh to Yahuah. And we see Yahusha was the firstborn male that opened her womb. So, he was physically kodesh to Yahuah, and in the Ruach as well. It's just how deep the connections goes. It's really amazing.
Hey, Jeremy.
Yeah.
As you were reading, you said he was laid down in the trough. And I thought, oh, that's where the animals feed from. And then I thought, oh, he's the bread of life. He's been laid down in the place where they eat from. I'm sure people have
Yeah.
thought of that.
Yeah. No, interesting. That's actually, thank you for pointing that out. Because, yeah, trough is where they eat from. So, yeah, the bread
Yeah.
of life. The animals probably were eating grain.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the connections go deep. That's all Yahuah right there. All right. So let's continue. So Luke 2:25. And behold, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Shimon. This man was righteous and Elohim fearing, waiting for the rest of Israel, and the Ruach HaKodesh was in him. And he received an answer from Ruach HaKodesh that he would not see death until he would see Yahusha HaMashiach, the Son of the living El. And he came to the sanctuary by the Ruach. So when his father and his mother brought him into the sanctuary, so that they could do according to the custom of his law, Shimon took him in his arms and blessed El, and said, Adon, now you let your servant go, according to your words, in Shalom. For my eyes have seen your Shalom, which you have prepared before all the people, that they may be in the light, so that you proclaimed it to the people, and equipped your nation, Israel. Love it. And this man was kept alive to see Yahusha HaMashiach. And his father and his mother were astonished because of those things which were said of him. So Shimon blessed them and said to his mother, You must know that this one is put in Israel as Savior, and as redemption of many, and as a sign. But with it, things will be said against him. And with the sword they will divide and pass through his nephesh, in order that the thoughts of many hearts will become publicized. And there was a daughter of Shemuel of the tribe of Asher, and she was come 2 days, and she had lived with her husband 7 years with her virginity, and was a widow up to 34 years. And she did not depart from the sanctuary, doing service day and night, in fastings and prayers. And in that hour she was also giving thanks to Yahuah, and she was speaking of him to all those who were waiting on the redemption of Israel. So when they had completed all the words of the law of Moshe, they returned to Galilee, to the city Nostrat. And the child Yahusha grew up and became strong, and he was full of wisdom, and the grace of Yahuah was with him. Now his father and his mother went to Jerusalem every year on the honored day of Pesach. And when the child Yahusha had reached 12 years, they were going up to Jerusalem according to their custom on the day of the feast. So I wanted to point out that we see Messiah himself was growing up honoring the day of Passover. It's a big clue because that is what he was raised up doing. And what was also one of his things that they did, what he grew up learning and knowing, the law, the Torah that was written by Moshe. I just wanted to mention that because a lot of times I'll hear, oh, there's nowhere that says, the Messiah observed Passover. Well, we see his parents did. He grew up with them, going with them to observe Pesach. Anyways, let me continue. When the child Yahusha had reached 12 years, they were going up to Jerusalem according to the custom on the day of the feast, Pesach. When the days were fulfilled, as they were going back, the child remained in Jerusalem, but his father and his mother did not realize it, for they thought that he would be with the others who went with them. And so they went one day and sought him among the rest of the unfamiliar relatives. But when they could not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to seek him. On the third day, they found him in the sanctuary, sitting in their midst, listening to them and questioning them. So he was in the sanctuary, listening and questioning the elders and the priests and so forth that were in there. Yeah, no, that's a good point, Wendy. Because he stayed behind, it could indicate he observed a different calendar. Yeah, possibly. Well, we know for a fact he observed a different calendar just by his death, burial, and resurrection. It only works on the Zadok calendar. So clearly, we see he was following that. And if we read from John chapter 7 to chapter 9, if we do the math backwards there, we could see that all these important dates, they only line up on the Zadok calendar as well. And there's a lot of a deep hidden stuff in there that really only lines up to the Zadok calendar. A lot of people don't realize that, or when you point it out, they just get really upset for some reason or another. If I see something in scriptures, which I have many a time, I will change my point of view and my beliefs to fit what scriptures is showing. But I digress. So, verse 47. And all who heard him were astonished because of his wisdom and his answer. So when the father and the mother saw him, they were astonished. And they said to him, Why did you do this to us? For I and your father were in pain, and we sought you exceedingly. So he said to them, What is this that you ask me? Did you not know that it is obligated that I must be in those things which are from my father? Sorry, the wording kind of throws me off a little bit. But I must be in those things which are from my father. But they did not understand the word that he just said to them, or that he said to them. So he went down with them, and they came to Nazareth, and he was subservient to them. But his mother established all these things in her heart. And Yahusha increased his wisdom and in years, and in the grace of Elohim and in men. So we see he was 12 years old at this time. He was astonishing all the elders and the priests and all that there. He was questioning them, I'm sure, because a lot of the priests in that temple, they were the usurpers. And he was calling them out, no doubt. This is why they asked, well, why did you do this to us? But he was saying, I must be doing these things from his father. Who is his father? Yahuah. We also see that he was subservient to his parents, also keeping the Torah, which is, honor your mother and your father. Even though he did not want to listen to them, he just wanted to stay there. He was obedient to his parents. So never once breaking any Torah. This is how he walked without sin. All right. Well, we are at chapter 3 now. About an hour in. Hey, Marissa, shalom.
Hey, Shalom. I just wanted to pop on and say hi to you guys. I'm over here in Massachusetts. Hold on, let me see.
Oh, shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. So, but yeah, there's a bunch of kids in the backyard and everything. But yeah, we're just hanging out with all the family. We got a picture with all, I don't know how many grandkids, 16, 14 grandkids.
Oh, my.
With my grandparents. So we got all of them. But when I figure out which one was good, because Elijah was not being good for me, but yeah, I was like holding him, and so he's the only one with his face kind of like "Ugh," like that. But as soon as I figure out which one was a good picture, I'll drop it in the chat for everybody. But yeah, shalom. Enjoy your study, guys.
Awesome. Glad you could be here, sister. And thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of
Love it.
course.
We might actually end up pausing it for right here. And then we'll actually go to chapter 5 next time. So this will be 1 and 2 because chapter 1 was almost 100 verses long. I knew it was that. I was just not thinking it would take that long. And I know it's only midweek, so most of us are working or have other things going on right now as well. But yeah, as we can see throughout the Hebrew book of Luke as well, we see Yahuah, his name is used, the Yod-Heh Vav-Heh. We see there's more distinction in the words that are used. We also saw right off the bat that in the Greek, there's 4 verses that are not found in the Hebrew, which is very fascinating as well. And another fascinating thing is, well, we get the Hebrew right here as well. Even it's the modern Hebrew, but still very fascinating stuff. And I believe it tells you, it'll the transcript. Oh wait, it shows me on here actually because I have it. So it'll go through all these little different things about the manuscripts, about the translation, where they come from, things like that. So it's a really cool resource actually. And we see it just goes from Hebrew to English, each chapter, and then about the manuscripts. And it just kind of goes, these are the ones found in Safaria, which is Spain. There's also the Cochin ones, which are found in India. And they match, they line up. It's really actually awesome when you look into it all. But it'll just go over all about the manuscripts, where they were found, how they translated it, things like that. And so if you want to dig deeper into all of this, that link is there in the chat. We also have a tab, the Hebrew Brit Hadashah. We have all kinds of resources in there. I know there's even a mobile app for this specific, for this whole Hebrew Gospel app. Yeah, actually, look right here. Get app. So yeah, if you go to that website, you can just go right here and get the mobile app. I actually just noticed that. And I do know that, at least for the book of Luke, Hebrew Luke, you can get a hard copy of it. And this is kind of what it looks like. You can get the, oh, what happened here? Oh, because it's Shabbat. Oh, so it's Saturday. That's what I see. I see. So it's their Shabbat, Saturday Shabbat. So they're not. That's actually, that's very commendable. They're one of the few that actually closed their orders on the Shabbat. That is actually very commendable, because a lot of popular sites, even popular Torah teachers, don't even do that. So, wow, I like that. Even though we may be on a different Shabbat, very commendable that they have their whole site, so you can't buy it. But anyways, so if you'd like to learn more about all that, of course, you can get the PDF. They have different videos. They have, well, for Luke, a hard copy, of course, the different sources and source manuscripts and things like that. And really informative, actually. And it kind of goes into, these manuscripts here, the translation. I know I've said that, but a really informative website. So yeah, I will actually have to change the name, well, the title of our video here, from 1 to 5 to 1 to 2. Hebrew Luke 1 to 2. But anyways, I pray you all have had a blessed week so far. I pray you enjoyed this read and study. More reading than studying, but there's a lot of stuff to get into with the Hebrew Gospels, or the Hebrew Brit Hadashah. And like I said, I wanted to include the Book of the Nazarene in our Hebrew Brit Hadashah readings. So probably after Luke, that's when we'll read the Book of the Nazarene, go through that. And then we'll read the Hebrew Revelation as well. And actually, there's Jude and Revelation, sorry. Yeah, I believe so, because if you haven't read the Book of the Nazarene, it's awesome. And it literally points out the calendars, the different calendars they had back then. Yahusha calls out the Pharisees for saying, you guys can't even agree on your calendar dates. But yeah, so I think we might end it there for this evening, or this afternoon, morning for some of you, like Jermaine. But have a blessed rest of your days, evenings, wherever you're at. And thank you, Sister Sherry, you as well. And I will schedule our fellowship for Shabbat. Hopefully I will have my Lashon Hara write-up kind of more complete. We'll go over that a bit more in detail. And we'll also continue in our Torah portions with Jubilees. As Shalom, Sister Wendy. Shalom, Sister Kelly, Sister Sherry, Sister Jermaine. And we will see you all soon. Yeah, thank you.